Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm going to present the study that was just published on the International Journal of Game-Based Learning. I made this research with Federico Battieni, that is Associate Professor of Experimental Pedagogy at University of Perugia, and Marco Bartolucci, that is a postdoc researcher on cognitive neuroscience that works on the Experimental Pedagogy Lab of the University of Perugia. So, two initial exploratory studies. We technically made two different studies. One study on children and one study on adults. And first, to go deeply on the study, I want to present you some data that are, for me, really important for contextualize this phenomenon. For first, let me put a stopwatch, or I will talk for an hour. Okay. Then, I want to present you for first some data. So, we will talk why games are important and the mechanism and the background that we use for the study, and then we will go deeply on the studies, talking about method and samples, and then we will talk about the result with charts and some more charts, and then we will talk about conclusion and the future implication of what we have done. This is a really interesting report by limelight.org, is the name of the state of gaming. So practically they took 4,500 consumers aged 18 and older that play video games at least once a week. Okay, we are talking about video games, we'll go deeply about board game later. I want to talk about games in general, because there are thousands of studies on video games, but 0 or at least 10, maximum 10 studies on board games. So this is a really interesting analysis. They ask people, how many hours each week do you spend playing games? And we could see that you guys, you played a lot, almost 8 hours, you're on the top of the chart. But okay, the global average is 8 anyway. More deeply, if we look at the range, same questions. How many hours each week do you spend playing games? This is divided by range of age. So, and this is amazing. This graph is amazing because we could see that from 18 to 25, play, okay, 8 hours is fine. On green, there is the 2019, and on black, 2018. This year, from 26 to 35, play more than 18-25. So for me, that's amazing. That shows us that this phenomenon is not a only young people phenomena, but a lifelong phenomena and a longitudinal phenomena. And this is crazy, and we should study that. And the tendency is growing really fast, and in particular on the older one. Every range of age is growing except the younger. Talking about board games, this is an amazing analysis by Danish Vadvani, that is a researcher that made a so he took a lot of data, qualitative and quantitative data about board games, and create a lot of charts. And you can go through those charts, and you can look at those charts that are really amazing. This is board game related by year from 1930 to 2018. That is growing exponentially, and you should know that you are here, and you should know that the released games by year is growing exponentially. So, when I present those kind of data to people, they asked me, and they tell me, okay, Francesco, maybe we have a really huge problem. Why people spend so many times for escaping from the real world? So they spend so many times, 8 hours a week, for escape to the real world, for go in a virtual world. For me, it's not like this. For me, we have a really powerful instrument, and we have to study that instrument, that kind of instrument, because it's a really powerful instrument. If can take people 8 hours a week in a virtual world, it means that it's a really powerful instrument, and we should study, and we should know how it's works and use it for educational reason. For educational reason, because for me and for our lab and through our research, we think that playing games is a learning process itself. In the sense that there is a famous quote by Coster that say that the fun on games come from apprenticeship. It comes from understanding. When playing, learning is the drug. So when you play, you love to play because you love to learn all the property of the space of that game. And that's why sometimes could happen that a game gets buried, because you have just learned all the property of the space of that game. So when you play because you want to learn more. You want to take some rule here, another rule here, and mix for create beautiful strategies. And sometimes doesn't matter who win. The important thing is the process, the learning process, the process where you take some rule, some sub-rule, and you mix everything for create amazing strategies. There is another funny story that I want to tell you, and the story is about, the story is about David Sudnow. David Sudnow is a American polymath, in the sense that he was a sociologist, an academic sociologist, and he was a Guggenheim Fellow. And so Guggenheim Fellow is the most artistic, is the more important artistic prize that you can get. He practically understand that he was completely addicted to one of the first domestic game, Breakout. Addicted to Breakout. For me, that's crazy, because it's a really simple game. Today we have crazy games, and you get addicted for Breakout. Okay. The funny story is that he wrote a book about that. He wrote a book about his addiction to Breakout. And I really suggest you to read the book, because it's really interesting. So he described the playing process in this way. 30 seconds of play for 3 bricks, and I am on a whole new planet of being. All my synapses is wailing. All my synapses is wailing with Breakout. That's crazy. And show us how games are really strong in this way, in addiction, and because you want to expand, you want to play, you want to learn. The world is saturated of things to learn. The world. I have new world. He experienced a really important sensation that some scientists, as Csikszentmihalyi, I know it's really difficult to pronounce, Csikszentmihalyi, he was one of the founders of the positive psychology. So practically, he decided to, okay, what's happened when I am really, really concentrated in a task? I am pretty sure that you have experienced that sensation where you are completely concentrated in a task. For example, when you are playing, that you are really concentrated on the game and doesn't matter the world outside. You are on the game and doesn't matter anything else. This is the flow, the satisfying and exciting feeling of creative accomplishment and increasing functioning. It's the same experience that put in common David Sudnow has and all the people that are really learning something. So he described this kind of sensation, this kind of experience, the flow. He took a lot of interviews all around the world, from Buddhist monarch to the expert athlete, and he discovered there is a common sensation that is the flow. Is a common the flow channel is called it, and we know how to induce the flow channel. So practically, you need to have a good level of skill and a good level of challenge. For example, if the skill is really high and the challenge is really low, so if you are really strong, for example, on playing a game, and the challenge is really, really low, you get bored because you are too strong for that game. And if the challenge is really high and your skill is really low, you have fear and anxiety. And so in the middle, you can have the flow, the flow sensation. That is that sensation that we all tried when we play board game. We are completely concentrated. And you can get the flow in 2 ways. On learning something and on game, and when you play. And Csikszentmihalyi say that games are an obvious source of flow. Playing is the experience of flow par excellence. And this is an important feature about games, but there are some more. For example, in games we have really strong feedbacks in the sense that it is difficult to link action to its feedback when it is distant on time. Whereas the closer is the feedback is to the action, the more effective it is. I want to make you an example. In Italy, we have a really big problem. A lot of people throw garbage on the floor. That's happened because when I throw something on the floor, nothing happens. I throw something on the floor and I can walk anyway, and doesn't happen. And on games, you have a concrete feedback in the sense that if I make a mistake, if I make something wrong, 30 minutes, 5 turns, and I will understand that I made something wrong for the simple game. Okay, there are some games that is really difficult. You need more than 2 games for understand that you made some mistakes. And anyway, in games, this is so powerful because you can have you can manage your learning. So you can have a feedback on your learning process, instantly feedback. And this is a really important feature. This is a really, really important feature. Mistakes could be considered as a feedback in games. There are a lot of research about mistakes in games. This is a really funny research about a Finnish research team. So practically, they studied Monkey Ball 2. I see someone of you that is logging, because technically they made this study, and they discovered that the emotional peak on Monkey Ball 2 happens when you fail. That's amazing. When you fail, there is the emotional peak, and the addiction comes in. So in this case, for Monkey Ball 2, for Monkey Ball 2, Monkey Ball 2, this happens because there was this funny monkey that fell out from the court, and they discovered that this is amazing. All those features, mix it with some more feature, can create a really enhancing of motivation. You feel really motivated and playing game. We made thousands of kilometers for going here in Essen. I think that this is amazing. But let's go back to the study. Those are some features that I described to you, and there are some, for sure, thousands of more. And I strongly suggest you to read my study, and here you will find everything that you need for understand better those kind of effects that produce games. I strongly suggest you to read the study. Ask me if you need the study. I will give you later. I will send you a paper. Anyway, let's go deeply on the study. So the studies were 2. So the research hypotheses are 2. One is what skill experience players developed compared to non-players. So what is the difference between players and non-players? And the second hypothesis is what effect could produce a training guided by board game. So if I take 10 children and I make them play board game for 2 weeks, what's happened compared to the children that don't play? So we took 2 groups, a group of adults and a group of kids. And the group of adults was composed by 21 players that play more than 5 hours a week, and non-players that were 24. This research design is really easy. So there is testing players, testing non-players, and then we made a simple statistical analysis. I will show you later. The players were, the 2 groups were not so different each other. The year of study are really the same. So first we tested the players, and then we found non-players that are similar in age and years of study to the players group. In this way, we can control for a lot of variables. In this case, the average age was pretty much more higher on players. And we made a questionnaire for first, and we have amazing results. For example, that 54% of players play more than 8 hours a week, as you in Germany. For the children study, we use a non-randomized pretest-posttest. We had 10 children on the experimental study and 10 on the control group. So we had two groups. A group played board gaming, and a group didn't play. And so we made for first a pre-test, so an entrance test to everyone, and then the experimental group played, and the other no. And then we made a post-test, an exit test to everyone, the same test. In this way, we can control for anomalies or change that could happen here. Maybe there is some problem with the slides. Anyway, the children played 3 hours a day. We use 13 games that I will show you later for 26 hours of training. And for 2 weeks from Monday to Friday. We decided to use 26 hours of training because we look a lot about the study on chess player. We are really focused on that, on chess studies, because it's the only things that we have on board games voices. And so they say that 26 hours of training for chess training, 26 hours of chess training is the minimum for have an effect. So we decide to use the same amount of hour for compare chess and board games. And they played for 2 weeks, so from Monday to Friday. Meanwhile, the other group, the control group, go normally at school. And the experimental group didn't go to school. So they played instead of going to school. Calm down, it was summer. It was summer, and so they just go to school during the normal year, and in summer they made this kind of training. And the training was amazing, really amazing, in the sense that we had amazing feedback from the children, and the working flow were really, really good. We work a lot, and probably I want to ask the response to some of your questions. We had some teachers that were really, really good on explaining games. So I think that if you are good on explaining games, if you are good on make them game interesting for the children, you win on the starting point. So you have to be really interested on what we are doing, and you have to manage it really well. You have to know how the game works. Then we use some games. For sure, we choose the games based on some feature that those games have. For example, I really strongly suggest you to read the article. You will find everything on the article. Here I will explain you some of that. For example, we use concept. Concept is really strong because you have to be really creative on concept. You can use everything you want for be creative. It's a really amazing games in the sense that can bring you out of the giant carpet that you have. We use the XXL version where you have the giant carpet and so all the people around, and you can go really. I saw crazy things playing with children on concept, and concept is really strong because you have no rules practically. You only have to use your cubes for create concept and subconcept, and it's really strong. I really suggest you to use concept on learning on classroom. And then we use so many other games that I really suggest you to read the article. You will find game by game explain it perfectly why we choose that game. Unfortunately, I don't have time now. I don't know, maybe there is some problem with the slides, probably, because it's in Italian. And so the average age on the children's study were pretty similar. The only problem was that we had a disbalance from a gender disbalance on the experimental group. We had 9 girls and 1 boy, instead of in the control group we had 4 boys and 6 girls. And this could be a problem. The results that we found are really good, so we don't think that this could be a problem. Maybe we work better. Maybe we worked better because 9 girls are really calm, so you can talk really slow, and it works really good anyway, the training. We use it 5 tests plus 1 questionnaire. So I don't want to go too deeply on the test. We'll explain only the funny ones. We use the standard progressive matrices that are really common to use in this kind of task. Standard progressive matrices by Raven, they measure the fluid intelligence. And we decided to use the standard progressive matrices because a lot of study on chess experts use this test. So what is the difference between board games and chess? That was the idea. And then we use the remote association test, and I will show you later. And the alternative uses task, the graphic test of creativity, and then a problem-solving inventory. Problem-solving inventory is a scale, a normal Likert scale for psychological measurement. And so you have a lot of quotes, and you have to say if you agree or not from 1 to 5 with those quotes. It's really famous in USA, this test. We had some researchers from University of Padua that help us to translate it in Italian. So it's not commercialized in Italian, but they help us on made the translation, the Italian translation. And we have 2 forms for this, 1 form for the children and 1 form for the adult, for sure. I will explain you later about this one. Another the test that I show you later before is the remote association test. It's a really interesting test because you can do that by a computer. So you have this computer. You can you can get a lot of data from the subject. So, for example, we can get the latency time, the wrong word that they put. The test is really simple. Practically, you have 3 words, and you have to find the missing words. In this case, opera and dish is soap. It's really easy as test, and measure it's done for measure the semantic creativity. So it's a purely semantic creativity and semantic converging thinking. But they found that the test is really strongly correlated to a lot of more tests on creativity and intelligence. Another test that we use is a really funny test. It's the graphic test of creativity. So practically you have 2 sheets with a lot of circles, and you have 34 colors and 10 minutes. And so have fun. You have to draw what you want. For sure you have to be creative on doing that. I will show you some results later about this test because we had amazing things. And we had really strong scores criteria, in the sense that we can, the criteria for scoring is really interesting. So you have to get all the tests that you had, and you check for common drawings. For example, if two subjects made the same pair of glasses, is not creative. Because for be creative, you need that only one person do that. So it's a really interesting scoring, and you can go really deeply on this creating process that they put in place. Another interesting test is the alternative uses task. This is a really interesting test that we use because it's really famous from the Kenneth Robinson speech. You can find this test described in the Breakpoint and Beyond by Lang. Is a is a really good book that I suggest you. So practically we asked it, how many uses can you find for a paperclip, for example, and they have to wrote all the uses that they can find. For sure, we had some scoring criteria here that we cannot count. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we have some scoring criteria. Then I want to present you the results for adults. Those are the results from adults. For the problem-solving inventory, do you remember the problem-solving inventory, the inventory for the... I want to tell you perfectly the name of the subscale, because the problem-solving inventory is divided in 3 subscale. Problem-solving in S1, S2, and S3. On green, you have the non-players, and on black, you have the players. And the problem-solving inventory scale 1 refers to the self-efficacy on problem-solving. So how much I feel comfortable in solving difficult problems. And we found here that non-players are better, they have a better self-esteem on problem-solving than the players. We really don't know how to explain this kind of results. We suppose that maybe players that they always have a difficult problem to solve, feel less good on doing that for some reason. We don't know why, and we have to go deeply, on studying this kind of phenomena. The problem-solving scale 2 refers to the tendency to deal or escape with the problem. So if I have a problem, I'm trying to deal with it, I try to cope with it, or I'm trying to escape, and we have the similar result, no statistical significativity, a little tendency for players, but not so strong. Same things from problem-solving scale 3 that refers to the self-control ability during problem-solving task. Those are the results from problem-solving that for the scale 1, we have to find something, I just told you. In the cognitive part, on the other test, we had amazing results in the sense that for the rat test, we had a statistical significativity for players. On SPM, Riemann matrices, fluid intelligence, we had a really strong statistical significativity for players, and same thing for divergent test. Graphic test, we had not statistical significativity, but you can find a really strong tendency for the players. This result, compared with other results by chess grandmaster, they made a German research group made a really interesting analysis on the same way that we did. So they take chess grandmaster and non-chess grandmaster, so common people, and they compared it, and they found not differences on Riemann matrices. So you are better than, we player are better maybe than chess grandmaster. Those kind of things suggest us. This is a test, a graphic test of creativity made by the expert player. This is amazing. When I saw this, I explode because he described me as a giant robot that giant robot and a worm that play basketball against a ant and a Heisman. That's crazy. I have never seen something like this. And look at the detail of the movement of the ball. For me, this is a really amazing result and show us how our creative players, how the players are creative on doing these kind of things. And this is amazing. And you will see on the paper, if you read the paper, you will see other of this kind of stuff. And for the children's study, this is a difference by the mean. These graphs show us the difference from the post-test, so the test that they made at the ending, minus the pre-test. So that means that when they go down, they decrease their performance. And we had the same results on problem solving in scale 1. Here we don't have a significativity, statistical significativity, but we have the control group that is growing. The same things happen on the adults groups, so it's not casual, it's something that happened and something that we have to study. Self-esteem on problem solving decrease when you play board games. And we have to understand why. Yes, it's funny to say. But we have a really strong statistical significativity for the cognitive task. For example, here, the rat test, do you remember remote association test? We have an increasing of the performance on experimental group and a decreasing of performance on the control group. The same things happen to the Raven matrices, fluid intelligence. They grow instead of the control group go down. And in the divergent test and graphic test, grow both, probably because the tests were the same. When the matrix Raven and rat test, the word on rat test were different from the first trial to the second, and SPM, the matrices was different. Here it was the same circle, you have the same circle, and so they learn something, and this is called a learning effect. Those are the results, and suggest us that there is a lot of work to do together. And this is some feedback that I had from the children's study. For example, here we made a questionnaire at the end of the study. And these children, from 1 to 10, what is the global opinion of this experience? 10,000. Children really love play board games. Those are some amazing drawings that I get. For example, look at this one. I asked it to this child, what is this and this? So he made this drawing here on the top of the paper, and this one on this part of the paper. And he described that it is a man that entered in a portal here and escaped from the portal here. So it's something amazing. This is a child from an experimental group. This is the difference from the drawing from a pre-test of experimental group and post-test of the experimental group. The sheets were 2, so we have another sheet to look, but I have space here. So those are the results. I'd really like to tell you that we have to work together, because those results are not casual. So we see that adults react in the same time of children to board games. I really think that we have to continuing to study board games, because educational have a lot of problems. The educational field have a lot of problems today. For example, this is a phone on 1960. This is a phone today. These were a computer on 1960. This is a computer today. This is an Italian class on 1960. And this is an Italian class today. Nothing has changed, but the world outside is changing really fast. And we need creative people. I think that the future can be predicted, the future must be created, and for do that, we need creative people. And the creative people that we will need is the people that we are growing today. And today, we are not growing creative people. We are not inspiring creativity on children. And so I suggest you to let's play. And thank you so much for your attention.
Yes, thank you very much. Great talk. I guess we have some time for a few questions. So over there's one. Yeah.
Hi. Thank you for the presentation. I'm a psychologist and researcher in Italian as you. I would like to contribute a bit on the explanation of those data, on the data. So if you can go back to that slide.
Sure.
Yeah, I was thinking about what you did with the study, and came up with a number of things.
This one,
the first one,
the adult one.
Yeah. This one. Okay. The first thing that pops up to my eyes is that, as you said, board game players have a lower self-esteem. Okay.
on problem solving, it's not a self-esteem, a general self-esteem. It's a problem solving self-esteem.
Exactly. The first thing that I think is that basically board gamers look for problems and non-players avoid problems. Okay, so all of us that are gamers, we look continuously for problems, and we find them in games. So we know that we are not so able to solve all the problems. And so if you know the Dunning-Kruger effect, in which when I know a bit about something, I think I am the best one, and then as much more I know, the less I think that I am able to solve the problem. I am an expert in that. So basically, gamers are expert problem solvers, and as such, they know that they don't know.
Really good.
No, that's
really, really good. Yes, thank you so much.
Well, I know that I mean, we are all gamers, so this was easy to do. But the second point is that creativity is a really raw construct and really difficult to assess. And I admire your way of measuring creativity. But I think that a nice thing to do would be, and this is also my field in which I'm working, to be to stress a little bit more the cognitive aspect rather than the creative aspect, because since creativity is difficult to assess, I expect some results because you assessed in detail. But on the other side, I think that a nice way of continuing this kind of study would be to go also on that part, on the cognitive part.
Yes, for sure. Let's discuss all together, for sure. You are all invited to the conversation on what to study. Not now, I'm not talking about now, but in general, in the future. Thank you so much.
Okay, one more question. Is there one more question? Okay, if this is not the case, let's thank the speaker once again. And the next talk,
you are invited to write me at my email, and I will send you the paper. The paper. Thank you so much.